To the White House now, where President Trump just held a meeting with his cabinet this afternoon. Also in attendance, Department of Government Efficiency head Elon Musk. This comes as concerns grow after a journalist was included in a group chat regarding attacks on Houthi rebels in Yemen. President Trump commented on it during a meeting with Louisiana's governor today. Take a listen.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now. Olivia, do you know how that journalist got included in this really sensitive group chat?
Well, Liz, what a shocking report from The Atlantic today, sending ricochets around Washington that Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, appears to have been accidentally included on a group chat with a lot of heavy hitters, including the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, the Vice President, Trump's Chief of Staff, on very sensitive plans to attack Houthi rebels in Yemen over the weekend. Now, this report was published today. Jeffrey Goldberg was talking about exactly what transpired in that group chat, which was before the strikes happened, where we saw some conversation between the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, over whether or not they should postpone the strikes for a month or so. Also quite notable in that group chat, the Vice President appeared to criticize Trump and the administration, saying that there were some inconsistencies in the messaging around Europe, quoting from the piece now, which allegedly shows what the Vice President had said during that group chat. The Vice President said, quote, "I'm not sure the President is aware how inconsistent his message is on Europe. This is with his message on Europe right now." He says there's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices as a result of these strikes. Now, we are hearing from the spokesperson of the National Security Council, who appears to confirm that these texts are authentic. In a statement to CBS News, he said, "At this time, the message thread that was reported appears to be authentic, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain." He also said the thread is a demonstration of deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials, putting a little bit of spin on there about spinning what could be a pretty egregious mistake by this administration into something as a thoughtful conversation between policy advisors. Ultimately, the question still remains how this reporter got onto this text thread with some senior administration officials talking about some very sensitive topics, including attacking Houthis in Yemen.
And Olivia, we mentioned this earlier in the show. President Trump met with his cabinet, including Elon Musk, who was not an official member of his cabinet. But what were the key takeaways of that meeting?
Yeah, this was the third known cabinet meeting that Trump has convened with members of his cabinet. Mostly everyone was there. The only person who wasn't was Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. He's on a trip in the Pacific right now. But Elon Musk was there, and we did hear from Trump talking to the secretaries at the end of that meeting about rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse in their own agencies. Trump at one point said that what they're doing is not necessarily a popular thing to do, which is to accrue a lot of layoffs as a result of rooting out this waste, fraud, and abuse that he's been talking about. But I do also want to point out another key takeaway that Trump did discuss, which is going to be happening later this week, and that is a trip to Greenland. We know that Second Lady Usha Vance, along with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, will be making two separate trips to Greenland. This, of course, comes as Trump has talked at length about either purchasing the island or taking control of it one way or another. Those are his words. Trump was asked by our own Ed O'Keefe about this visit and if it was welcome, because we've seen some criticism so far from officials of that nation that this was not a very welcome visit. Trump said he was asked to explain exactly why these officials are going. He said it's not provocation, it's out of friendliness, and he says that they were invited to go. This is, of course, as Trump is still looking to obtain more access to the island of Greenland.
All right, Olivia Rinaldi, thank you so much for that.